He is back. Adam Caplan's here as he is on a happy hour Friday, each and every Friday here on the Sports Match. It's time for football at 4. What's going on, Adam? I liked what you brought to the table on Tuesday's edition. Those numbers, the over-unders for the running backs, I thought were really interesting to kind of, get a revealing look at what Vegas thinks on how the Eagles may use their running backs. Adam, they think the Eagles are going to use like a rotating system, and that those two guys, Penny and Swift, are going to total about the same yardage as Miles Sanders did last year.
Right. In fact, they have Penny, Mike, getting a little bit more yardage, maybe around 50 yards more. For both guys, and Swift, we'll talk about him first, because we have his rushing touchdown prop. I call these fantasy props, by the way. So Swift, his over-under touchdowns is interesting. The number they're using is 5.5. Over is plus 130. So if you think he's going to get 6 or more, you get really good odds. Now, under is minus 160, so you got to give the juice up. That's probably one I'd stay away from. Why? And this is what I was going to get to with Penny and Swift. They've just been hurt so much. I'm not sure with him. He's had a variety of injuries, and Penny's injury situation is way worse. But I do find it interesting that they have Penny for more yardage. Now, it's probably because Penny is a home run hitter. Swift is not. Penny could take one long at any time. That's probably the difference between the two.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the wide receivers this year, because yesterday we were ranking our top 10 wide receivers in football. A.J. Brown on the list, Devonta Smith right on the outside looking in. So let's start with A.J. Brown. You've got him for just over 1,000 yards, or not you. Vegas has him right over 1,000 yards, 10,049 yards. Last year, he had almost 1,500 yards. So they see him taking a step back.
I find it interesting they would do that, Mike. I don't get that. It's just really weird to me. Last year he played every game, which was surprising. He had 1,496 yards. His over/under is over 400 yards less, 1049.5. Both the over and the under is minus 110. Obviously, I like the over there. Now his touchdown total is 7.5. He had 11 last year. Now, obviously, you're going to have to give up some juice here. If you want to take the over, it's minus 125. I still like that over. And the under is plus 105. Yeah, you get a benefit there, but I can't see it going under.
Yeah, I'm very interested. I'm surprised. I mean, they've got him almost 500 yards below what he did last year, and almost 4 touchdowns less than he had last year. So they think A.J. Brown maybe takes a little bit of a step back. And then you got Devonta Smith, who last year he had almost 1,200 yards receiving, and the over-under for him this year is under 1,000 at 974.5.
This is what I'm thinking, Mike. They must think with all these running backs that they're going to run the ball out, which is completely false. The Eagles can have 10 running backs. They're not going to be a running team. There's certainly times when they will run the football. We saw it with Green Bay because it worked. Coaches will tell you if something works, why go away from it? But they're going to be a passing team. That's what they want to be. They're not paying Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown to catch the ball 3 times per game. That's not what they want. They both went over 1,000 yards. In fact, Dallas Goedert probably, Mike, if he would have played all 17 games, he was pretty much a lock to go over 1,000 yards. But we'll get back to Devonta Smith. His over-under is 974.5. The over and under is minus 110. I love the over. He had 1196 last season. He played every game. So, and that's the other thing. He's been so durable, Mike. Now, his touchdown total is a tough one. I probably would pass on this one. He had 7 touchdowns last season. The odds makers using that number. The over is minus 125 for 6.5 touchdowns, and the under is plus 105. I just don't see a value with that one, Mike, because he's probably going to be around 6 or 7.
Yeah, I would agree. He had 7 touchdowns last year. He had 1,196 yards last year. But if you want to get something there, they only have him for 974. So if you think Smith's going over 1,000, it's time to jump on that one. We looked at A.J. Brown. Let's go to the third member of that team, and that would be Dallas Goedert, the tight end. They've got him for 675.5 yards. He had 702, and that was only in 12 games last year.
Again, I get that he gets hurt a lot. He's played one full season. I think it was his first one in 18. Yeah, he did miss 5 regular season games. He has these freak injuries that are unfortunate. Last year certainly was a good example of that against Washington. So at 675.5, the over It's minus 120. I like that over. I know you got to give up something. The under is plus 100. Again, even with missing 5 games, he went over that total of 675.5. He had 702 in 12 games. And now the touchdown total, he just doesn't score, Mike, a lot. I know he's missed a lot of games, but I don't understand why he doesn't score a lot of touchdowns. Now, I still like this over. It's only 3.5 touchdowns. He had 3 in 12 games. He can get 4. It's minus 110, whether you take the over or the under. That's probably my favorite over. He's got to score 4 touchdowns, Mike. Come on.
Yeah, I like, I'm a big Goddard fan too, and I'm waiting for him to have that breakout year. But as you said, the injuries have kind of been the reason he hasn't had that monster year at this point. Rushing, let's go to Jalen Hurts. Last year, he had 13 rushing touchdowns last season. And this year, Vegas says 11.5, and this one's got some interesting value.
Yeah, boy, Hurts is interesting. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at a lot of things here with AJ. We took a look at Hurts earlier in the week on Tuesday's segment on the passing yardage, but here's the touchdown total. I was surprised it was as high as it is, but here's what we have to consider. The over-under is 11.5 touchdowns. So if you want to take the over, you actually get value. So 12 or more, you get plus 105. So if you put up 100, you get 105 back. You get your money back, plus you get another 105 back. The under is minus 125. So they clearly think, based on what's happened in the last 2 seasons, he's 24 rushing touchdowns in the last 2 seasons, 13 last season, and 10 in 2021. Now, understand, based on the way he plays, we know he's probably going to miss 2 or 3 games. That's just that position. Guys who run typically miss time. Now, the guy who's not really missed time is a runner, is Josh Allen. I know sometimes he takes some hits going out of bounds, but he's bounced back. You worry about Josh Allen. Now, obviously, he's a bigger guy than Jalen Hurts, but Hurts is super strong. And here's the over-under touchdown total. The over-under, Mike, for Jalen Hurts, it's minus 110, whether you take the over or the under at 22.5 touchdowns. Now, the thing is, Mike, he will run. He's got 23 in the last 2 weeks. Last 2 seasons. He had 22. It's so funny how they do this. He had 22 touchdowns last year passing, right? And that was with missing 2 games. You would have to think now with the 3 pass target, those 3 guys back, plus the key, plus Swift in the pass game. Why can't he get 24 to 25? I'm going the over there. I like that over.
So passing touchdowns, Jalen Hurts, the number is 22.5 over under. You like the over on that number. I tend to agree with you there as well. Jalen Hurts going over 22.5 touchdowns. I think last time we were on, we looked at his passing yards. They had him down in passing yards as well from where he was last year. I think 3,700 last year. This year, the number over under is like 3,400. So it looks like they think he's going to take a step back passing yards, but right about the same amount of touchdowns in the air. Then there's DeAndre Swift, who they just got here. 5.5 touchdowns is the number, and you can get good value here if you think he's going to vulture some of those carries in the goal line area where Hurts gets a lot of touchdowns.
We talked about this a couple minutes ago, but I want to add something here. See, here's the thing with DeAndre Swift. We talked about 7 minutes ago about this number 5.5, but here's the thing I would add. He's outstanding. Talking to Liz about him over the years, he's outstanding inside the 10. He's very shifty. Now, the question would be, because you've got Rashad Penny, we talked a lot more on Tuesday, and they think he'll have more yardage than Las Vegas does. Will they pull Swift out at the goal line and put Penny in? See, that's the problem. Yes, you get value if you have over 5.5 plus the injury history. That's why I think it's a little shaky to go over 5.5. This is probably one I would pass on.
All right, Adam Caplan, football at 4. Let's look at some of the possible awards. If there's guys on this team that you like, the AP Defensive Player of the Year, and obviously you got a candidate on this team this year, but he's a long shot. Hassan Reddick, if he would be the guy, you say, hey, he was every bit as good as anybody last year at 18.5 sacks, but you can get some really good value if you like him.
Yeah, he's plus 2,500. Just to give you an example, Micah Parsons is the favorite at plus 650. I like that. Look, I like those odds. Think about it. If you put $10 up, you could win. You could win 2,500. I mean, it's easy too. Now the funny one, and I know if you look at this is the AP, by the way, AP Defensive Player of the Year award. Darius Slay is plus 10,000. If you put $1 up, you get 10,000 back if he shockingly wins it. It's this award though. There's not one position that will get it. They've had a variety of guys. Obviously, Aaron Donald, who's technically a defensive tackle, has won it. Pass rushers definitely are the favorite. And Parsons here's at plus 650, and Darius Slay again at plus 10,000. In fact, I couldn't find Bradbury on there. I looked for it, but he was not on there.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Slay plus 10,000. His partner on the other side. So you get Reddick at plus 2,500. Slay at plus 10,000. By the way, the favorite is.
Yeah, Parsons again at 650, as I said. Yeah, and honestly, I hate to say lock, but he's a great one. You know who might wind up winning it? I don't have his numbers. There's Sauce Gardner of the Jets, who is the defensive rookie of the year. He's awesome already. He's one of the best corners in football.
Yeah, that defense is good. We were talking with Andrew about them yesterday in our division previews, and he really likes that defense anchored by one Sauce Gardner. How about the offensive player of the year? Interesting names for the Eagles. And, of course, Jalen Hurts is the guy. He might be in the MVP conversation. But when it comes to offensive player of the year, what about A.J. Brown?
A.J. Brown is plus 5,000. It's interesting, though, because they've got Justin Jefferson right up there to win it. I don't know why A.J. Brown's plus 5,000. I would have had him probably plus 2,500. That's a very good value. Now, there's no way this will happen. DeAndre Swift, I wouldn't even put $1 on it. Why? Because you would get 12,500 back. But DeAndre Swift is plus 12.5. He's just, there's no way because they're going to have a committee anyway. So I wouldn't go with that. I just thought that was funny when I saw it, when I saw the odds out there at MGM. But A.J. Brown's worth it, though. Look, he almost had 1,500 yards last season.
Yeah. A.J. Brown, we were doing top 10 wide receivers yesterday. He came in at number 7 on the list at CBS Sports. We were kind of like, man, for 1,500 yards and he had 11 touchdowns to be, he had a much better year than guys that were ranked ahead of him on that list.
He did. I know. That's a good question. Maybe we'll wind up doing like a top 10 ranking by position, because I know it's controversial. I know Chris Sims and people get on Sims about it. It's about performance, folks. You can't have biases. It's not so much who's most talented. It's how do you process and how do you perform?
Well, for instance, Adam, they had Jamar Chase, who I love, but he did not have as good a year as A.J. Brown had last year.
Hurt.
And he had but they had him ranked number 4.
Well, again, now, you have to take it, but okay, you have to look at the entire career. So if you based A.J. Brown on what he only did with the Titans, you wouldn't put him anywhere close to the top 10. It wasn't his fault. They just didn't throw a lot.
Mm-hmm.
As I told people when they made that trade, he's going to have a career year. He's going to have a monster year because they're going to throw the ball a lot. And A.J. Brown was actually better, believe it or not. I mean, I was super high on him. I couldn't keep my enthusiasm shut. I mean, I was just blown away by the guy. But he was even better than I thought he would be. And I didn't think he'd stay as healthy as he did. That's a great tribute to him and the way that they keep their players healthy. And look, he's a stud. He's right now a top 5 to top 7. I don't care that
he came in at number 7. Yeah, he came in at number 7.
There you go. Yeah, I have to look at it. But Chase, Justin Jefferson.
Jefferson was 1. Tyreek Hill was 2.
Yeah, I can't argue. He's unbelievable. I was able to see him twice last year at with the Eagles in Miami, and then in Tampa when the Bucs hosted the Dolphins. I've never seen it at thousands of training camp practices. Probably the best practice I ever saw for a receiver was Tyreek Hill. It's just embarrassing what he did to the Bucs corners.
All right, good stuff on the I like my favorite one of all of those is probably now not maybe value wise because you mentioned Dallas Goedert for the value.
I love that
possibility, but I would have to say A.J. Brown 1,049 yards over under. I mean, I would have to imagine he goes over that again this year. He had almost 1,500 yards last season. I like A.J. Brown to get over that number.
Mike, I am befuddled. A lot of these are much lower. Again, what are they? It's very clear to me. It's not like they're going to tell you, the lines makers, how they're coming up with this. But they clearly must think the Eagles are going to run the ball because they have like these 4 running backs and they added 2. Now they have 4 guys who are going to compete. we're technically 5 with Trey Sermon, but they'll probably keep 4. It's kind of funny, and they think everything's going to be down this season in terms of these receivers, and Hurts. They don't think Hurts is going to throw for 4,000 yards, which I think is realistic this season.
All right, Adam Caplan, Football at 4. Check out the Inside the Birds podcast, and Eagles training camp begins July 25th. We are closing in on 1 month to Eagles training camp. Adam, have a great Friday, man.
You too. Thanks.